it's been a week since we heard about Omicron, and this week mukhang settle down yung information coming out about Omicron. We understand the data is not yet in, but at the same time, the data that's been coming out of various studies, they do seem to be a bit confusing. One study says that it's 3 times more prone to reinfection than Delta. On the other hand, there are studies that seem to show that it's much more contagious than Delta. If you boil it all down, at least as far as we know so far, what should we take away from Omicron?
So I think what the data is saying is it's more infectious, it's more transmissible, but it's less deadly. So what that means in the Philippines is people will get sick, but they will have a headache. They will feel very tired, but they do not lose their sense of taste. They do not lose their sense of smell, and they do not go to the hospital. So if this is the case, then it's actually a blessing in disguise, because that would mean that, it would just mean that the wave would come. We would have a large number of cases, and not as much as Delta because of the substantial population immunity that we have already, but hospitalizations would be spared. And so the brunt of the pandemic would not be, it would not be so as aggressive as Delta was or as Alpha was.
Father, what's the difference between our situation and the surge that's now happening in Europe, for example, because of Omicron?
No, so the surge in Europe and North America has nothing to do with Omicron. That is a Delta surge. It is a substantial Delta surge. To give you context, yet today the Philippines reported 356 cases in the entire country. In the United States, we have 120,000. And this is the nature of the surge. It is a Delta surge. Yes, there may be Omicron cases in the US, but I think it's 100. So think about it. You have 100 Omicron cases and 120,000 Delta cases. So this is the Delta wave. And here in the United States, as it is in the global north, it is driven primarily by weather, by seasonality. Because you remember, transmission depends on mobility and how people interact. So in the Philippines, the levels of interaction is pretty much stable throughout the year. But during the winter time, more people will interact because they have to stay inside. Indoors. And as compared to outside. So what you're seeing here actually, as in the north, as in Northern Europe, and slowly moving down through the European continent, is seasonality. And as it gets cooler, people meet each other. They're not wearing masks. They're not doing minimum public health standards because they have been so relaxed during the summer and the fall. And so they're not vaccinated as much as we are in terms of our cities. And so what happens is this is a perfect storm for what you're seeing in terms of a substantial winter wave.
But Father, we don't get the white Christmas. But up until your point about being less vaccinated over there, what you did describe pretty much describes what we anticipate for the Christmas season here in the Philippines. No? I mean, never mind that in Baguio we're hitting 8 degrees. Manila just had 20 degrees. People are feeling chilly, and they're in the holiday mood. Everybody is anticipating precisely that picture that you painted.
Yeah, so what we're going to see, again, so unlike in the, we have, let me back up. So with 356 reported cases today in the Philippines, the average daily attack rate is less than 1 in 100,000. For many people throughout the pandemic, this has been population immunity. So the hope is that many of our kababayans get together in the cities, but hopefully most of them are vaccinated. And hopefully they will be careful, especially if there are lolos and lolas around. And so yes, we are going to increase the mobility and the meeting. But the hope is we are meeting as the vaccinated people. What you're seeing in the United States and in Europe is that there are substantial pockets of unvaccinated people. So it's not just you have one person who's unvaccinated. You have families who are unvaccinated. And when they get together or they go to church together, then the whole parish becomes a super spreader event. And that's what we're seeing in certain places, that you're spreading within communities. So now there is the threat of the Omicron, of course, because in Norway, there was a Christmas holiday party of 70 people who were mostly vaccinated, and yet there was an outbreak of Omicron. But again, hopefully, as I pointed out, there will be an outbreak, but they'll just stay at home and they won't go to the hospital, and that will be good for the country.